Hi class, my name is Hannah, and this is my final video presentation on the four literary works that we will be comparing to Liberty, Independence, and Freedom. Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, the Cask of Amontillado, and Thank You, Ma'am. First, I'd like to talk about the words freedom, liberty, and independence, and what they really mean. Often, these words are used interchangeably, but are they really synonymous? Freedom is described as the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Liberty is described as the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Independence is described as the fact or state of being independent, usually pertaining to another country, organization, etc. So from these definitions, we can see that though these words are often used synonymously, they have a little bit varying definitions. I like to think that liberty and independence are more political constructs, and freedom is an ideology that applies to every individual. In The Hotel on Corner of Bitter and Sweet by Jamie Ford, love is a form of freedom. There was rampant racism and xenophobia present during World War II, particularly towards the Japanese community. Kiko and her family were robbed of their liberties, independence, and freedoms, and when they had to abandon their things and were forced to the internment camps. All of their livelihoods were uprooted. They lost family, loved ones, their homes, their belongings, and experienced a lot of turmoil because of this. Kiko and Henry were robbed the freedom to love who they choose when Henry's father, who is a very traditional Chinese man, got involved and chose to end their relationship. The interment camps interfered with the relationship when Kiko and her family were sent away. Ultimately, years of a happy life were stolen from them. I love the quote that says, Henry always had a way of finding the sweet among the bitter. There were so many heartbreaking aspects to this story that it did help to find silver linings and have a positive attitude. Henry used his freedom to find Kiko and her family, bring them supplies, comfort them during the hatred that was present in the internment camps. In the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, love is also a form of freedom. Juliet explores this freedom when she rejects Mark and his flashy proposals. Due to all of her actions and the ability to govern herself freely, she meets the Literary Society members and eventually falls in love with Dossie Adams. Though the impact of World War II impacted Juliet greatly when she lost her flat due to the bombings, she gains new perspective and empathy after hearing the stories of tribulation that the islanders have experienced, and she now calls friends. Additionally, in the story, a lot of the members lose their independence when Germany invades the island. Their liberties and many forms of freedom are stripped from all of the inhabitants. The members of the Literary Society have found solace in community and books. Their hope doesn't die out despite the atrocities that arise. So they kind of create this new form of freedom, which proposes the idea that freedom is a state of mind. They establish their own ideas of freedom amidst all of the heartbreak, loss, starvation, and death. In Thank You, Ma'am, we see Mrs. Jones use her freedom to help Roger, despite the fact that he tried to rob her. She likely understands and empathizes with the young boy. She uses her freedom to show compassion as an example of why freedom is so important to human nature. I generally believe that all people are inherently good, and Luella is an example of kindness and a beacon of light in a dark situation. She could have chosen to have Roger arrested for assaulting her. Instead, she talks with him and ultimately gives him the object of her desires, which leaves Roger speechless because of her act of kindness. In the Cask of Amontillado, Montresor governs himself freely, with little to no regard for others' freedom, liberty, and independence. He's insulted by Fortunato several times and decided that there was only one solution to deal with this offense. He became the judge, juror, and executioner. Montresor's justification as to why he must kill Fortunato is a violation of freedom. He governs himself with no restraints, yet is happy to restrain those when he deems the situation fit. So in comparison, the story of Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet and the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society, we see that a lot of political ideas of liberties and independence influence the story, as well as many forms of racism and hatred. In the two short stories of Thank You, Ma'am and The Cask of Amontillado, we see the difference between good and bad freedom being implemented by free will. Luella uses her freedom for good when she shows empathy, and Montresor uses his freedom in the name of evil to condemn someone to death as he sees fit. In conclusion, all four literary works we see freedom stripped from the characters involved. They do find new ways to invent freedom with their restraints that are upon them. The political constructs of independence and liberty diminished greatly during World War II. The three words freedom, independence, and liberty are not as interchangeable as they may seem. Hope, kindness, loyalty, and empathy are redeeming character qualities that give way to the idea that freedom is a state of mind.